Donald Trump has, and let's see what screen I can pull this up on. I think I have some images of one of the tax returns that was leaked. It was just 3 pages that was sent over to the New York Times. But tax records obtained by the New York Times show that Donald Trump claimed a $916 million loss that would have allowed him to legally avoid paying federal income taxes for up to 18 years. All right, let me see if because I don't have any. That's all I wrote in my notes. That's all I wrote. I did look at the document, so let's see if I can recount it pretty accurately. So there's, of course, if anyone's done their taxes, there's a line in there that allows you to write in losses. And you can carry those losses from your businesses. So depending on the type of business, you can carry those losses over. And depending on the size of the loss, you can take it all in 1 year, or you can spread it out over a series of years. And there are limitations to how much you could take in any 1 year. Donald Trump had a loss in 1 year of over $916 million from a business, essentially running a business into the ground. Now, everyone would say, oh, well, that hurts. Not every business is going to be successful. The thing here is, and up front, in full disclosure, this is all legal. There's nothing illegal about it. However, it is important to discuss it because he's the person who is going to be signing off on the legislation Congress passes on tax policy. With that $916 million loss, that is enough to carry him to forward his losses for a total of 18 years. And so for 18 years, if he made about $50 million a year, he still would have paid no taxes for all of those years for 18 years. Now, this is different than my qualm with, let's say, corporations who do tax inversions to avoid taxes. This is different than my beef with Apple, who pays like 50 euros on a million euros. But it still falls into the category of the uber wealthy being able to game the system by destroying a business, which that destruction of business, that loss of profits, was a real business. Those were real lives, real jobs that were lost. Donald Trump was able to have 18 potentially, right? They had to extrapolate. He has not released his full returns, so we can't compare. But Donald Trump said he was smart. The smart thing to do would be to take that $916 million loss and take it as far as you can. So that's 18 potential years of paying $0 in federal income taxes. Now, here's the problem. The problem is that this is actually, I can show you the problem better than I can tell you the problem. Here is Donald Trump talking about, I think this is the right one. Let's listen in.
The unfairness of the tax laws is unbelievable. It's something I've been talking about for a long time, despite, frankly, being a big beneficiary of the laws. But I'm working for you now. I'm not working for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me.
Believe me. Okay. All right. So this is his selling point, right? He wants us to. He's doing two things at one time, and it's obscene that hardly anybody is calling him out on this. At the same time, he's proposing his tax policy that he has proposed is a windfall for the top 0.1%. I'm sorry. Yeah, 0.1%. It is a windfall. And so simultaneously, he's engaging in a very ferocious brand of Reaganomics, but he's trying to convince America that he's just a Joe Blow, blue-collar billionaire who's going to work for the average American. Here's the reality of our tax policies. Somebody is going to pay the taxes. We're either going to have the wealthy pay taxes, or we're going to hit the middle class, the upper middle class, which is where it really comes from. The upper middle class really gets their head cracked. Ask me how I know, because I pay a bill every single month. I write a check to the government every single month, and I get nothing for it. Nothing. I drive on the same roads as billionaires ride on. Bentleys pass me up, and my car is clucking along, and I'm paying the government probably more than some of them. Sorry, just got personal there for a second. So he's saying he's going to work for us, the middle class, the working class, the poor, but he's been the biggest beneficiary of the tax loopholes and the types of deductions that average Americans will not see. I mean, I've written off one year on that same line some losses from a business. And it was because it was a business that I started, and I get the deduction. I'm not saying, and I think anyone who tries to insinuate that he did something illegal is very, very disingenuous and propagandistic. So we're not suggesting that he's done anything wrong. I'm just suggesting that, do we really believe that this guy who has benefited the most from all of the loopholes, from all of the deductions that the average American probably would never have, is going to do something to benefit the middle class when he has expressly adopted a hyper Reaganomics tax policy that is a windfall to the top 1%. I mean, why do people even still believe this guy? That's my question. Why would anyone believe when he has already presented a policy that will give, I believe, an average of $1.9 million, or was it 19 million? Okay, so that's a big difference. So I'm not going to quote the number. Actually, I have it in my notes from the other day. But he's giving a windfall profit. I'm just going to generalize here, and you can go back to the other show where I had the exact numbers. He's giving a windfall to the top 0.1% of Americans, and the average American's going to see like, what, $1,900 a year that they will save in taxes, which don't get me wrong. Like, I've been in a bind before, and that $1,900 could go a long way. But here's the problem. When you take money out of the coffers, somebody is going to pay for it. And if we're not paying for it with taxes, that means we're paying for it with no money going to our infrastructure, no money going towards research and development sponsored by the government. And so we get research and development sponsored by corporations who are going to sponsor research and development that's beneficial to them and would never sponsor any type of R&D that's detrimental to them, even if it's representing the truth. All right. So that's another good. So you lose programs, you lose government funding for R&D, you lose infrastructure, you lose the ability to invest in human capital, you lose all sorts of things that are just, government jobs will be cut. I mean, we're talking about cutting and thrashing the public sector because why? Because we want to give everyone a tax cut, and we want to make sure those tax cuts are concentrated at the top. Somebody is going to pay. The question is who? And with Donald Trump's tax policy, he has made it expressly clear that it will not be the top 1.1%, because he's smart, because he understands. He has tax accountants. He's not smart. His tax accountants and his attorneys are smart. They're able to show him, well, it's okay for you to lose, to basically go bankrupt, not in the legal sense, not in the Chapter 11 sense, but in the sense of losing almost $1 billion on an investment, because, well, you could just write that off over the, even if that 900 is, and please, before you comment below, please only comment if you've actually started a business and you understand how the deductions can go, where you did not lose $916 million cash. That's the value of what you lost. And so even though that's not $916 million out of pocket, he's still able to write that off. And that's enough to make sure that for almost an entire generation, 18 years, he did not pay a dime in federal income taxes. While you and me, 18 years ago, how old was I? I don't know, You know, I was young, so I wasn't making hardly any money, but I was paying taxes. Guarantee you, we were getting taxes taken out and ended up some years not getting a refund owing the government. Tax policy, I think, is more important than anything else because tax policy shows you where your priorities are and shows you where your nation's sense of morality is.